What's up? What's up? How's everybody doing? It's Sunday, April 15th, 2018. I'm joined live in studio with Big Chonis. What's up, buddy?
Hey, good evening, Cheds. How are you tonight? Happy to be here talking crypto with you.
What if I don't want to talk crypto? What if I want to talk like baseball or like hockey playoffs or something?
I am skilled in the arts of baseball and hockey playoff tactics.
You actually are. You actually know a lot about sports. Let's just everybody remind you, if you want to find out about my buddy here, you can find him on Twitter at Big Chonis. He's on the 10K follower watch. He'll probably hit that pretty soon. Find me on Twitter. I can hear you typing. Find me on Twitter at Big Cheds. And and of course, please check out the beginner's guide to cryptocurrency trading at chedstrading.blogspot.com. Hopefully your page will load faster than mine. And there it is, Beginner's Guide to Cryptocurrency Trading. I wrote it for you guys. Check it out. Why don't we start here at CoinMarketCap for today? Let's go ahead and take a look. I'll hit refresh, and let's get the party started here, Big Chonis. And what do you think, buddy?
Yeah, Cheds. I mean, listen, we've been trying to keep an eye on the volume, trying to see what the money flow has been like. You know, we were very low several days ago before this recent pop under $4 billion. We kind of climbed up back into the 4 billions, and then on April 12th, when we had that big giant candle, we shot up to almost $9 billion, which we hadn't seen that kind of money flow, that kind of dollar volume for almost a month. So that was really great to see. And then basically since then, we've kind of trailed off ever since. And today's kind of money flow is very similar to yesterday's money flow, a little over $5 billion. So although the buying pressure has slowed down, I think the selling pressure has definitely slowed down. I think that's why we're able to maintain our current price point.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking a lot about volume. I mean, you need volume, you need money flow in order for there to be action. If there's no volatility, there's no play. You know, nobody's having fun. Everyone's just holding or waiting for an entry or shorting. So it's not as good. We did have those nice 2 days of buying pressure and accumulation after that short squeeze. The short squeeze on the 12th, we had a decent follow-up day here on the 13th. And the lower volume, Big Chonis, would be indicative of some type of a consolidation pattern, which is what we're seeing here on the chart.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're not seeing any big selling, and the price has maintained, and it actually has kind of trickled up. So as the volume gets lower, but the price stabilizes, it's actually a very bullish move.
All right. So you were messaging me earlier. You wanted to get us started here at a 1 hour chart.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important to recognize, what we've just been going through here and kind of what this means. This is a bullish move here. There's obviously no doubt about it. We have a giant candle preceded by upward momentum that, when it has corrected over the past several days, it's been at a very low correction level, or a Fibonacci level, if you will, showing just how strong, how bullish right now Bitcoin is basically playing out. That big green candle, it's still up for debate about what actually caused that. Was it just the right moment in the chart?
Does it matter?
Does it matter? Was it a
No,
big
does it matter? Does it matter? I'm asking you. Like, if there's a debate, but who cares? I mean, that was like 20 hours ago.
Well, I think it does matter in terms of how you can process, is this move the beginning of a new bullish uptrend?
Yeah, but isn't it what's happened after that which matters, not what caused that one candle in the 1 hour?
I disagree, because what caused it basically says, is this a strength move, a market change in perception, or is this just a temporary move based on an oversold or over leveraged performance?
But that question's answered in the follow-up, and we have the follow-up.
Which is what?
We've got, like a bullish consolidation. I mean, it kind of looks like, I guess you could say, maybe a rising wedge in the 1 hour, potentially, but it's still churning. I mean, you've got several consolidation patterns which are breaking up: bull pennant break, larger bull pennant break, larger ascending triangle break. So, my point is, who cares? I don't care what caused this candle in this 1 hour on April 12th, because we've already seen follow-up to it. So I don't think it matters. I don't care what caused it.
All right, well, let's do this. I was trying to look back in history and see if I could find another example of where you had a very strong in like a 4-hour time frame, or a very short time frame, a very strong bullish candle up, followed by a preceding bullish pattern where it did not correct. And if you look back to the March 20th area, I think it is here. It was, right on March 18th. I remember this kind of very clearly. This was the G20 conference, and at that moment in Bitcoin price action, it was falling pretty precipitously, and there was some report about some banker who was pro Bitcoin, or at least pro the regulation, or the G20 agreed that regulation in Bitcoin can be something that can be, part of their whole system. So really it added a lot of legitimacy to Bitcoin and caused a very similar candle, which basically also shot up and did not correct very well and keeps shooting up to that second leg there. And so what I think is we're seeing something kind of similar, where we have a lot of bullish momentum. We're breaking through a lot of barriers that kind of forced us down. Every time we keep correcting, we keep correcting small and bullishly. And, the question is this a complete dynamic paradigm shift in
I
the
don't
price
know. I don't know.
Is this just a short-term correction in a continued downward trend?
What do you think? What's your opinion, Big Chonis? What is
Yes.
it? Yes, exactly. So this kind of takes me to an important point. We're now, did we close? This is 8 o'clock. We just closed the daily chart. And I was earlier on Twitter doing this debate where I was asking people, have we broken the upward resistance trend line yet? So if I go ahead and draw this trend line on arithmetic scale or non-log scale, we actually have broken it, which is a buy signal, right? However, arguably, and I'm going to go ahead and find the tweet here just so I can give you folks some context. And once again, this is Big Cheds. Let's find, here we go. On the daily chart, is Bitcoin currently trading below or above the downtrend line? So, close to half, 44%, still believe we're below. And the question is why? If I go to log scale, okay, what does that do? So you guys see here on linear scale, it looks like we have a downtrend break, right, Big Chonis? We are the top, we have the second here, the third, and now we have the downtrend break on April 12th. If I go to log scale and I remove these trend lines, I'm going to redraw them from the candle body, and I'm using the candle close, not the wick. So we're like not even close, actually. I could draw it that way. If I wanted to be like other people and skip the second trend line, which I think is crazy, you could just draw it that way, and we still haven't crossed it. So if I was being a conservative trader, basically the point I'm making is, folks, at least half the traders still think we're below this trend line. So that's the paradigm shift, Big Chonis. In my opinion, would be a break and a hold. I think of this upper trend line, which is like around, it's over 10,000 for me. Some people may say here at 8,900. But if you're being conservative, you have to wait for the log break, which is going to be around 10. What do you think?
So can you bring up my pinned tweet on my Twitter account?
Yeah.
About 3 days ago, I put this tweet out, basically using a log scale daily chart similar to what you put up there. And I had a conservative price point where I felt Bitcoin could potentially hit the 8,400 area. That was based on a log scale trend line drawn on the Coinbase marketplace.
Let's do that. Let me do that.
Brought up a very interesting point here where I think we're just using Bitfinex, and it's very interesting to see how different exchanges have had different price history over the past several months, several years. So have to factor that in when you look at charts, when you look at people's projections based on Fibonacci levels, and even trend resistance support lines. You have to ask yourself, what marketplace price points are they using? And you have to adjust yourself a couple, $100 or so in either direction, definitely.
Or more. You have to. I think you have to be as conservative as possible, right?
Right. So keep your spread there in terms of what the actual could be, and I think you'll notice the trend line on the log scale has not broken, and the trend line on the linear scale has broken a few days ago. And I think the answer to the question really is both can be in play.
Sure.
Both are in play.
Right.
People are looking at both charts.
Yep.
So in one way, you're right. It does signify potentially a bullish move after a long downtrend from where we were at 19.8 when we peaked. Or it could be a getting there move, but not there yet if you look at the log scale, which is also a completely valid scale to assess your chart set.
But for larger time frames, we use log scale, don't we? Isn't that kind of what the general, if you ask like a seasoned trader, when are you using log versus linear, they're going to tell you it's in a longer time frame to use log scale.
I think both are accurate. I think you'll notice if you're looking at a chart from a very short time frame, maybe 5 to 15 to half hour minutes there's very little difference if you're zoomed in between log and linear. The big variance happens when you're really zoomed out on a daily or especially on a weekly time frame, which looks very different and kind of can give you a larger sense about the epic moves that some of these coins have had, Bitcoin included. So what I think is happening here is, all right, there's yet to be a reason to sell. There's yet to be a reason to get out yet.
For who? For who? But what does that mean?
For the longs, for the bulls. So if you're looking at this price point here and you're like, I am thinking that we have bottomed, that Bitcoin is moving, that we're going to go up slowly, methodically, but we are going back up, then there's no reason yet in the price action for you to sell. There's a lot of oversold indicators. We can absolutely discuss those. But for right now, there's yet to be a reason to sell. Now, there'll be a point, I assume, where we get way overbought, and that hasn't happened yet, I feel. And until that point happens yet, there's not going to be a reason to really feel like, all right, we have to take profits now.
What's your metric for that? I mean, you just kind of threw out like, you know.
Okay, so a lot of it has to do with previous line resistance points, and a lot of it has to do with some Fibonacci points. But to really sum it up quickly, the number that kind of keeps sticking out in my hand is around 9,000 to 9,100, because at that point there, it does a couple things. It breaks the log scale trend line resistance that we've been riding since 19.8. It breaks the weekly resistance as well. And so we could potentially hit or close above 9,100, but a weekly close above 9,100, which will not potentially happen until at least next Sunday, 7 days from now.
What about next week? What about Wednesday?
So that 9,100 area is such a huge resistance level because you see we topped off there March 23rd, which was after that bullish candle from that G20 positive news. We topped off at 9,000 and change. We tried to test it again. We couldn't. We put in a lower high, and that has started what this continuous downtrend and we've been in basically since the last week of March. So a break of that top of 9,000 and a hold would, to me, classify a complete paradigm shift. We're not there yet. We're nowhere near there yet. And we do have to correct from this move here. Now, I think there could be a couple $100 more left in this move here.
But that's it.
It's been super bullish. Is 8.7, 8.6, 8.5 in play now? I think you can't say it's not. It's still very bullish, and it can continue to be overbought on a lot of our indicators that we like to look at.
Big Chonis, look at where the RSI, look at the Bitcoin daily chart for log for Coinbase. Big Chonis. Look at where the RSI has been on the last 3 peaks, the last 3 times we challenged the trend line. And look where it is now.
On the
daily on Coinbase,
Yeah. I mean, I think I put a tweet out about this too.
That's kind of interesting.
Have been overbought.
Well, not overbought. It's not overbought. It's at 59. But look where it is. It's at the exact.
All right. So it's hitting that resistance.
Yeah, it's exactly.
So that's side though is coinciding with that as overbought as well.
Each of the 3 times. So that's like a signal. We have to be sober about that, don't we?
Now pull up the hourly on the Bitcoin chart, and I think you'll see bearish divergence in the RSI. And even I found some bearish divergence in the OBV.
I mean, yes, but RSI, people always bring this to me. And listen, I don't, like with an RSI is going down and prices going up, that's bullish to me because when the RSI is cooling off and you're still holding price gains, how can that be bearish? Right? So I think some people are misusing terms, or maybe I'm crazy, and that's possible too. But if you're at $100 and the RSI is 90, and then somehow the RSI gets down to 30 and you're still at $100, you want to tell me that's bearish?
Then is the OBV?
Yes, OBV is what's important, because that has to do with a momentum. It's a momentum
indicator. I see a lower high in the OBV and a higher high in the price.
Where? Just in the last 8 hours?
The hourly, yeah, I see from that peak to where we are now.
A little bit. It's close. Very slight. Very slight. I mean, yes, but it's still very slight. I look at the whole trend. I go back to 413, 22 hours, Big Chonis. You see where it started? Okay. So you see where you have the last big red candle, which was on 413. You see that, right?
Yes.
So it's pretty much the slope. It's pretty much exactly the same of the OBV and the price. I mean, so I really don't see a lot of divergence when I kind of look at it. I just kind of look at it.
I think what we're agreeing on is that we have very strong bullish momentum since 7 a.m. 2 days ago when this candle shot up. And the bulls have been unrelenting basically ever since, even though the slope of the rise has steadied. And we really can't spot anything crazy major out of place. That's why I think there could potentially be at least one more push higher before we get to an oversold area where profit taking will take place.
I mean, I think it's likely we do have one more push higher. One reason would be that some people think we've already broken the downtrend line. So you're going to get you're probably going to get some extra buying, maybe more than you might normally see based on all the other indicators being, even. Do you see what I'm saying? A little bit of irrational exuberance. So, I think we'll definitely go to 80. I think we go to 80, 87 to 88 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, 87 before we have to correct. I can't imagine we're going to hit 9,000 continuing up on the slope before we at least correct. Now, here's an important point. We've tested roughly the 80, I want to say the 8,100 area several times, and we've held. So maybe 8,200 area, 8,250. When we do correct, I would like to see a hold at least 8,200 to basically try and push for that another 7,000. If we start to break 8,200, and especially if we break 8,000, and you start to see a 7 handle, then I think 7.5 area is definitely in play.
Too soon. It's too soon to talk like that.
Well, I agree. So 8,250 is an important point where I think that could bottom temporarily and push us to that 87 range, maybe. But from there to 91, I think is what will basically be playing out potentially the early part of next week, because there's enough bullish Momo here to correct a little bit and then try and see if this can be pushed to about that 9,000 area. One more point I want to bring up about Bitcoin and really the altcoins at all is that we're 2 days away from tax day in the United States of America. Might be a lot of people that have basically been riding a lot of these alt wave profits, Bitcoin profits, etc., trying to get that last little bit out to pay what taxes they feel that they owe on last year's 2017's amazing gains, which I'm sure several people in the crypto industry, crypto field basically were able to obtain. So because of that, I think there's a chance that we might see a steep sell-off potentially just to get the profits into fiat in the next literally 24 to 48 hours.
I see it opposite. I see it completely the opposite.
If it doesn't happen, I will never think that the tax day moment will affect the price.
No, I think if anything, now taxes are a catalyst, because it's already been, we've already all of that priced in, where either people were taking out money to pay taxes, or people believed that other people were taking out money to pay taxes, so they sold in anticipation of the price going down, and that's wrapping up. So you say
it's already happened.
Yes, it's already happened, and it's the reverse of the buy rumor sell news in this case, where I actually think you can expect that if we survive, we're still here at April 15th, the price should go up, just based on that one metric. Okay.
Yeah, so I agree with that.
I do notice, however, in the 4-hour bearish divergence, Big Chonis, on the on balance volume.
Yeah, it's there. I mean, we've been having a very nice move here. We've yet to correct very big. That has kind of allowed this to kind of push up. But until there's a reason for the longs, for the bulls to start to sell, it's just not going to happen yet. However, it's going to happen. Like, things don't just continue to trickle up. So at some point, there will be a real correction where we're going to test the actual strength of this move. And I think next week's price action will be so huge. If we could possibly have a look at the weekly chart, because we've closed.
Go for it. What do you want? Bitfinex?
Coinbase
doesn't have as much history, I don't think, but for weekly. Let's go.
Go
ahead. You're good.
No, I can do. All right, I can do Bitfinex. I have that up right now actually as well.
Okay.
But so all right. Let's start with linear, if we could.
Yeah.
And I mean, Cheds, I want to take you back to the OTC penny stock trading days. And if you saw a chart like that,
yeah,
would you think that was a tremendous parabolic move, right?
Yeah. I would think it looks like every other chart. It had a huge spike and it's looking for a bottom, and I'd be like wondering if I could play the bounce.
Exactly. Now, I see we've corrected a ton, and it's true. We were at 19.8, and now we're back to 8, and change.
Yeah.
We went as low as 6 and change.
Yeah, I'd be waiting for 4,600 if I was playing this like a penny stock.
Yeah, that's the thing, because you have to think about this. It took 2 years to set up the last 2 weeks of price action, or really like 2 months, I should say, of price action in Bitcoin. It took 2 years to have 2 months of the most incredible price action in Bitcoin. So I know a lot of that is based on that huge spike where, it hit 19,000. Now we're, less than half of that. We went as low as, I think, 70% of that. That's a huge correction. And that's true from that all-time high. But you can't put a tremendous amount of super value in that last, $5,000, which was only happened in like a week's time because of, and I think we've experienced this in a lot of those volatile penny stocks we have experience with, where you have a tremendous spike of tens of hundreds, thousands of percentage points in a very short period of time, and you don't realize how there's zero support under there, and it deflates down to a place that seems tremendously more practical, but super low. And I don't feel that we're there yet. And in those moments, we've seen times where we're a little oversold, and we can correct and test if we've actually found a bottom. That, I feel, is where we're at now. This is a great bullish move here, but I'm not convinced yet that this is truly, that the bottom is truly in. And I think the price action next week will really set the stage for the rest of spring and summer, and really to determine if we're going to go lower and trickle down lower, or if we've actually turned a corner. And the
what? Turned a coiner?
A coiner, exactly.
Are you coining a new phrase? Are you coinering a new phrase? I love you, kid. Hey, I think we might be forming a falling wedge here. What do you think? I'm pulling it up on the screen. I'm not trying to do that. There we go. I think on the weekly chart, this is kind of a falling wedge, don't you think? Do you see it, Big Jonas?
Yeah, and you have to definitely acknowledge the stock RSI that has also been bottomed out for quite a while here and has actually turned up bullish. Like, these are very positive things here. And that's my point about 9,100, that if that were to break, that would break your bull pennant.
If it were to break bearishly?
If it would break bullishly, that 9,100 area and close above it.
Yes.
That's next Sunday's close could be very interesting, because that could really validate this as the true bullish move off of a bottoming moment.
So basically this could still collapse, but it also could be setting up for a big bullish move.
It could. And listen, I'm not expecting...
All right, folks, we're going to wrap it up there. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm not expecting that we're kind of just instantly turn on a dime and we're kind of be over 10,000 in April and 20,000. I mean, this is going to take so much time. The impulse wave that brought us all to 20,000 almost took years in the making. So I believe we will retest all-time highs at Bitcoin in the future. I am bullish long-term Bitcoin and crypto in general.
Oh, just real quick, guys. You've mortgaged your house for Bitcoin. Is that right?
I have not, because I don't feel we've bought them yet.
Oh,
So
that's
until
right. Oh, you're waiting to pull the trigger on that. You've got the escrow lined
Look,
up and everything.
watch the rates; they're always fluctuating.
This
But
is true.
my my point is that we're not in a place where you're not going to miss the boat. You know.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree. You'll get a confirmation if that's going to happen. You'll get a. Let's wrap it up and move on. But I think you're making a great point.
Yeah.
Just to remind everyone that Big Chonis and I, we are not advisors. We're just a couple of guys who like to talk crypto. You know, like to have fun talking crypto. So we're just doing this really for fun. So you know, we're not advisors. You can find him on Twitter at Big Chonis. Find me on Twitter at Big Cheds. And check out the blog chedstrading.blogspot.com. Let's see. What do you think about Ethereum here, Big Chonis?
Well, you know, Ether has led the way this whole way. You know, it was the most oversold at the moment in terms of RSI. I think on one of our previous shows, we were just stunned how low the RSY was.
RSY?
The RSY got on the daily chart.
Yep.
And that was just like, you know, if you don't see that as a good risk versus reward situation there, when the RSI is broken, your you know, industry standard of 30 on a daily as an oversold area and touched 16. I mean, good Lord, that's a tremendously low RSI price there. So a lot of people probably saw that, you know, as a great risk versus reward opportunity. That's why the stability and the bullishness of this move has been so superior, you know, to all the rest. And now we're putting in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, almost our 7th green day in a row.
It's pretty nuts. It's pretty nuts. But it has to pull back. I was just noting it's nuts, but one thing that's very bullish is we're now trading above an important support area. So we talked about not wanting to, Big Chonis, we talked about not wanting to break support from November 24th through the December 10th. See that whole clip, or 11th or whatever? You see that area?
Yep.
That was an important support area. It broke and it was resistance. And now that we're back up above it, that's an important support area to watch. So if we can, if we do end up getting turned back here at some point, you kind of watch that area like 450 for support.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think that if Ethereum has been the leader in this charge, then it will probably be the first one to pull back, because right now it is by far and away the most overbought on our indicator, especially
4-hour new leg, though. 4 hours hinting at a new leg.
It will be the first to correct when we start to correct, because it just has been the most. It's been the first out of the gate. It should be the first to reverse. I look for a change in Ethereum price action quickly to basically get a sense of when Bitcoin would probably follow suit.
So, okay. So at this point, though, but at this point, you just got to kind of watch it. This isn't something you're going to want to jump in on.
Right. I mean, at this price point right now, no. It will correct. And again, the correction in these moves will tell a lot of story about what the next move will be. Because if it's a very small correction and if it's confirmed, that's a super bullish indicator. But if we are unable to find areas where we assume we will be correcting, then the bullishness of this move will be completely lessened and we'll be back to a whole new dynamic where we're still in this downtrend.
Could be cup and handle. Could be cup and handle in the daily, right?
There's cup and handles, there's Adam and Eves, there's Adam and Steve's. You know, there's a lot of different charts here that are kind of playing out here. But, you know, Ether is still super bullish. It led the deal yesterday. It was up 6%, excuse me, yesterday. Litecoin has been kind of slow and steady, but still hanging in there. We're back almost to that 133 area. It's very impressive, you know. I keep looking at the 4-hour chart, and I've seen in a lot of Litecoin, yeah, sorry, and I see a lot of altcoins are respecting the 4-hour chart in terms of kind of like EMA levels and whatnot, and the 200-day on the 4-hour continues to be a zone that continues to be in play in terms of resistance, and right now it's roughly at around $137 or so, which interestingly coincides with previous top of $137-ish area as well. So that's a big area right now. If Ethereum will test 137, which was its previous top on that really nice move we had back on April 1st, the April 1st bounce, April Fool's bounce, if you will. If we can test 137, 138 and break that with conviction, that's a super bullish move. That tells, that wow, we've broken through that part where we couldn't break through last time. Remember, we corrected from 137 all the way back down to the 112 area.
Yep.
So that gave all that move back. So if we can go back up there, we can then begin to use that as a support area rather a resistance.
Look at where the RSI is compared to the last 2 times we've attempted to break that level.
On the 4 hour?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's lower, right? So that suggests it can break this.
It is currently lower, as well as the stock RSI is lower. So you're right; it could definitely break it.
Yeah, it's always. This is a typical consolidation. It's actually kind of a. This is kind of like an ascending triangle, bullish continuation pattern. You get people are probably like, did he just make that up? Let me find it here. Yeah, so it's kind of like it's like an ascending triangle where we have this flat top and this rising support line.
We're also hitting, a trend line of resistance area, basically from,
daily?
240 to 220. And basically, actually, I don't know, I kind of argue we're kind of starting to break through it a little bit. I guess even if you go to log, sorry, take that back. So again, that's another issue where you go to log scale on the 4 hour, you see a slightly different chart there that says, no, we're still kind of hitting resistance right now at 132.88 on the log scale.
How are you drawing it like that?
This is a very interesting moment right now. The 4 hour log scale trend line starting at 240, touching 214, touching 174.
Touching me and touching you.
Touching me is all.
Sweet Caroline.
ABBA and Neil Diamond. So right now is a very interesting moment. Bitcoin is just touching 8,400, which was kind of where my price prediction was several days ago. I didn't think we would get here this quickly. But because we got here this quickly, I feel potentially 87 could potentially be in play in this bullish move here if we don't correct yet. But we are getting to areas here where FOMO is starting to take place. Bullish exuberance is starting to kind of come in. It should be acknowledged. It's been a great run in a lot of these alts. Money has been made over the past several weeks in alts since the beginning of April, last week of March. You can't discredit that. So there's some new money floating around there. There's a little more pockets that can move money around here and will bounce around. And what crypto likes to do is kind of bounce around to the hot coin, some coins haven't started this nice ride here until the past few days. Others have been starting it 2 weeks prior. So there's money flow, there's some MOMO, there's some FOMO, there's some bullish news, but there's still a lot of, warnings and a lot of hesitation and just going to be smart. Like there's still a lot of stuff. We're still in a downtrend. We're still in a bearish movement here, even though bullish temporarily.
What? Just like the market. What are we talking about? The market in general? Your dating life? What are we talking about?
Definitely my dating life. But the market in general here, until we break these key areas and how we correct from this bullish move will tell us a lot of information. And this will happen soon, Monday or Tuesday. It's totally going to happen. There'll be a very... I would be shocked if we don't see a volatile move in the next 48 hours because it's setting up for something. We've been this slow trickle up for 3 days here. That sets up for a volatile move of some sort. Because we haven't corrected very well yet, I can only assume there will be a downward correction to kind of test to see how strong this move is. Right now, the 200-day on the 4 hour is right at around 7,700. That will now act as support. There's a few other areas of support, but until we correct, we won't know the true strength of this move.
Well, we also, support could be this downtrend line if we break it, and then that would be our back test. So, like where we are right now could be the support if we actually end up being bullish and keep pushing. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we don't have another trip down. Maybe we do. I mean, we were just talking earlier today that you had a friend who, swears that now 6,500 was the floor, but a week ago he was convinced it's going to 5,000. So it's just like, I don't know, man. I just don't. The Bears keep talking about a bottom that I haven't seen yet. But anyway, I'm not sure what I'm trying to say, but I think we have to wait and see is pretty much my point. Altcoins have been hot, Big Chonis. And I'm going to just quickly pick one. Top volume is TRX. I know you guys have never heard of TRX before. So I'll show you TRX the first time in your life. Let's see. TRX. Just kidding, folks. So TRX. Let's take a little closer look. 4 hour. Yeah, I mean, it's in a consolidation. It had this nice little peak, and it's been pulling back, and we're watching here for signs of strength, and I really don't see any signs of strength yet. Big Chonis on the TRX chart. I'm looking for strength. I don't see it yet. What are you seeing?
So I put a tweet out on TRX last night about this trend line that it's been supporting from the start of this nice move it's been on. It basically started at around 320 Satoshi. It found support around 435 Satoshi and was kind of riding it up all the way into these 500s here. And I've been watching the short-term price action basically over the past hours or so. It seemed like it was about to break out. It actually broke 530, or it just hit 530 there, and there was a nice volume there, and there was like, oh, here it comes, and it just kind of slowed down there. It wasn't ready yet, kind of doing a retest there. It definitely seems like it's moving up. Like it definitely seems like there's a continued movement here, a volume here. I like kind of the money flow. The 4 hour is a little toppy.
Yeah, it's weak. Doesn't it look a little weak in the 4 hour though?
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting when I saw it from 500 to hit 530, I was expecting a nice real pop. I was a little surprised I didn't see the follow through. The daily shows room to run there. The OBV isn't that bad and the volume isn't that bad. But it was a little surprising that the setup basically seems like it's still playing out. It still hasn't changed yet. A break, I'd say, of 500 now at this point.
Yeah, 500 is the level.
Would basically feel that this is beginning to break down.
Yeah,
but for
the
now,
bulls need to hold 500.
Yeah.
What is it? It's kind of like a symmetric triangle, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to play it and put a stop loss around like 490, 480, it's not a bad play now. It still shows bullish intentions, and until it breaks that trend line, the chart's in play.
It's roughly, I mean, it's like sort of a symmetric triangle. I don't know. We got to see how it plays out. Yeah, I would just keep watching 500. It's at a very important level. I just don't see strength. So, but it's also not, no one's panicking either. They're not dumping it, so.
Exactly.
So I was basically looking at the Binance top chart here, and for some reason I'm not. The screen isn't working for me. But what do you have for the number 2 in Binance, Big Chonis?
I don't know. Let me pull it up, Cheds.
Let's see here. I got XVG is number 2. We'll do that. Then we'll do 1 or 2 more.
Sure.
XVG still holding that 1,000 Satoshi level. I guess you could probably say there's some sort of a falling wedge going on here on the 4 hour.
Yeah, I mean it's correcting. It's had a great move. We talked about the length of the move allowed it to kind of continue to consolidate and push higher. Mm-hmm. This is its biggest correction, you could argue, since its move started back in the last week of March. I guess the really thing at this point you want to keep an eye on is the OBV. It's actually still pretty holding up decently. So it's showing that a lot of people are still holding on here in this correction period as we hold over 1,000 Satoshi. I like that. That's bullish.
That's good.
But I know there's a lot of news out there that's supposed to kind of happen in a specific date event.
Right.
Be interesting to see the market response to that. We have seen tremendous sell-offs on a buy the rumor, sell the news on several other coins as well. Mm-hmm. Be curious to see how that situation affects Verge.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if the news is good, it could still run because the daily chart has cooled off. I mean, it's been in a really big run, and the daily chart's cooled off. So it's at a really interesting point. If the news is really good, I mean, then I think it can run. I think the news has to be excellent because arguably a lot of these gains are built in. Because I think we knew about an announcement back around 500 Satoshi, and we've already doubled from there. So you
Yeah, how much of this run has been that news based, and how much
yeah.
of it has been just fundamentals holding long? You know, if I guess if you kind of like made up your mind here, if you're trading this for profit, you know, there's profit that would have been taken along the way with this great move here. If you're long it, then you don't care what the price action is because you all you care about is what it will be like in a year from now. But you have to be prepared for some pretty strong pullbacks, especially on some certain event-based runs.
Yeah, that's a great call. So I think you got to kind of wait and see on the news. If it's good, it can run.
Yep.
But I think it's probably not going to run because, like I said, a lot of it's built in. So I would go 80% that it drops, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll
Yep.
see.
Let's just real quick EOS, and then we'll jump back to another one that we were talking about earlier. I was actually, interestingly enough, Big Chonis, and this is Big Cheds. I went to CoinMarketCap beginning of the show, and I noticed EOS is the only token or coin other than Tether and the BNB coin, which are down in the top 100 on CoinMarketCap. Look at it. Everything else is green. So EOS stands on an island of its own right now.
We sure with that?
Go to CoinMarketCap and hit refresh,
Mhm.
right? And now it's green. It's flat, right? But earlier today it was red. And I go down. It's Binance Coin, BNB, and now just Bytom, I guess. But if you scroll back in the show, pretty much a 96 out of 100 are green, right? So that just shows you that EOS is having a little bit of it's in the middle of a pretty good pullback right now. And it looks like we are testing 10,000 and probably not going to hold it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's had a great run. It bottomed at what, 5,000. It hit 12,000. What, 120% there. What in what like
Wow.
2.5 weeks? Like,
Mm.
wow, wonderful trade, great move there. It's correcting as you would want to see. It's only off 20% though from its all-time high from the correction there.
Yeah.
There's a lot in play here. There's the fundamentals about it. I mean, this thing was a monster from when it on the Binance exchange, opened up around 1,000 Satoshi and ran up to 12,000. That's a 10 bag and change.
Wow.
That's the money bags there.
Yep.
Corrected and then basically is now
Double
finding
top.
resistance at a double top situation, which is brilliant because this is a great example. Actually, it's almost a triple top or a quadruple
Sure.
top.
Yeah. Why not?
Three little touches before, and now it's hit it again and rejected again. So here's a moment here where EOS will decide if it wants to break through all-time highs. If it does, God, there's no really telling how high this coin can run. It's amazing how now it's been a real player in your top 10. Every once in a while, there's a new top 10 that comes out of nowhere. I remember Cardano back in the day was like, where did this come from? And there it was, like number 7 after being number 500 out of nowhere. Stellar, IOTA, Neo, these are coins that have basically shot up out of nowhere, Ripple, and become major players with big market caps. Now, not as big as we were seeing back in the fall and the early winter, but, people are attracted to the higher valued coins because they feel there's a stability that's inherent in them, like a blue chip stock. So it gives them cred that they are basically high as they are, the more adoption to other exchanges that it can be on, the more credit it can have. But from a pure chart perspective, like this chart is crazy overbought. I mean, it's like this has been a mammoth. I mean, like you look at like the weekly chart and you're like, holy crap, this thing is just a rocket ship. It's like I've never seen anything in terms of chart history that can sustain something this massive in this short amount of time.
My man, that's a great call. I think we have to keep an eye. While you were talking, I charted just a level to watch. I think right around 9,000 is going to be an important level to watch here in the pullback to see if it can hold this support. So it's on a really big run here. Let's see, daily chart. So yeah, right at 9,000, I think is going to be an important level to watch, and that's going to be right at the middle Bollinger, maybe just above that, maybe about 92, 93. So we got to keep an eye on that. What do we got here? Let's go. What do you want to talk about? Lumen?
Yeah.
Let's go Lumen. It's been on just a beautiful run. It's continually, let's go to, I've been watching the 1 hour in this. It's been forming some nice bullish continuation patterns. Let's see. Right here, we have this nice ascending triangle right here. And I'm going to pull that up on the screen right there. This was an ascending triangle, and we broke out of that. And I thought we were actually forming a new ascending triangle. Right there, you can see it, essentially. But we lost our lower trend line. So I have to now look for another pattern that makes sense. I guess maybe like a bull. I don't know what it's doing, to be honest. But it's been really, really hot, and we're kind of watching to see if it can still continue.
Can you pull up the weekly chart for a second, Cheds?
Yeah, but real quick, though, I will point out the 4 hour, I'm starting to get these long upper shadows on the 4 hour. That's a note of caution. So we have a shooting star candle, actually, that we're watching now to see what the confirmation, the follow-up is in this 4 hour block. But we just did recently get a shooting star candle. I'm pulling that up on the screen. Which
also, it's through the Bollinger, too, so that's something.
Yeah, and it's a bearish reversal candle.
Yeah.
What am I pulling up here? You wanted me to go to
just the weekly chart. Something like I just want to take a quick peek at that.
Yeah.
On the weekly chart there, not on log, and if you want to draw just a nice trend line from its bottom around 500, you can see how it basically was holding that trend line where it kind of broke through but held the 2600 area, and then kind of been riding up this trend line here. This has been just a great example of how over the past couple of weeks it has bottomed out and has slowly kind of climbed up this trend line here. The reason I want to point this out is because this is what you want to see Bitcoin do.
Okay.
This is an example of a weekly chart, I feel. Actually, can you maximize that? Just double click the screen there, because it kind of bigger sense of it there. This is what you want to see Bitcoin do, where it is held up. Like I feel that Lumen, because of its move, can actually go lower, but because the bulls stepped in and has held this up almost for the past several weeks there, that's a very impressive move there. That's what you want to see Bitcoin do. That's the kind of turnaround I think we might be able to see in Bitcoin when it happens, whereas a slow and steady move with big wicks basically testing areas, but they're tight in the middle. And after 3 weeks of that, that's where you had that super green nice candle that we put in last night, or an hour ago, and that sets a very nice stage for potentially next week. Now, Bitcoin's price action will absolutely play a role in this alt as well as the other ones. It could definitely test that back trend angle. I think it probably will test that back angle there around 3,000 area potentially. So whatever Bitcoin does, the alts will follow. But Lumen has been slow and steady. It's now kind of peaking at the end of this cycle we're seeing as Bitcoin is holding in the mid 8,000s. And be curious to see how strong this one can be. Because there's a top 10, this will be one that will be played throughout the entire year and will be a major player in the next bull run, I feel.
I think you'll be a major player in the next bull run. I'm looking at the 4 hour Big Chonis. There's a lot of real nice loading, but it's also, I'm seeing signs of the reversal. Just to kind of buttress your point on the, I guess, a weekly chart, what we want to start to see here is a higher low. So that's what we're seeing. We have our higher low, and now we're going to get our lower high. So we have to put in a lower high first, and then another higher low before we can potentially break out on a weekly time frame. So that would be an equilibrium pattern, which is kind of what you were alluding to, which Bitcoin's working on the weekly. So let's see. Are there any other alts we want to just do? One more alt. Just pick one
Sure.
from the chat room.
Excuse me. For starters, it's great to see everybody here in the chat room. 455 currently of our closest friends. I saw we peaked over 500. That's awesome. We're truly humbled by the support. All we try and do is put out our ideas.
Pick one.
Cheds and I talk crypto all long, so we like to do it with our friends. All right, Neo, you guys win. We'll do Neo.
All right, Neo. All right, good buddy. I'm gonna remove my old markings. Daily. I'm gonna go a little closer. I mean, the daily's okay. It's consolidating. It's an ascending triangle as well on the daily chart. 4 hour is testing a key area. This is a really important level, Big Chonis, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a triple top there on the 4 hour. We've poked our heads above a couple times with some nice wicks. Got rejected every time. This is bullish, man. I mean,
really?
Normally when you test a resistance point 3 times.
Multiple times,
but the third time's a charm. They always say.
Yeah.
This is bullish. I mean, Neo's a coin that has, really peaked off back in the beginning of February. Took a big consolidation move there. Been trying to find a bottom. Had a nice move there. The volume is delicious.
Okay. Okay, player.
And just to clarify, I do not have any money in Neo. I can't really buy it. I don't have access to a marketplace that's currently on.
Really?
But I do like the fact that it looks very bullish. The chart looks bullish. This is an impulse wave.
So you think we're going to break? Are we breaking this trend line here?
I think if we do break the trend line,
resistance.
And this is a very interesting area, and we can really get above 9,000, then 10,000 is clearly our next target there. Absolutely. And then we'll have to see from there. But I'm seeing a tremendous amount of buying pressure, especially the 4 hour. This is a bullish 4 hour. Even though we're getting a little toppy here, we remain up here for quite a while if this money flow continues. I mean, there's not a lot that's bearish about this chart currently.
Yeah, there's not a lot that's bearish. Just the skeptic in me is always like expecting the other shoe to drop. We are at a key point. We are testing resistance. I was looking at the 1 hour, Big Chonis, and I don't know if it shows up on your screen yet. We do have a nice lower trend line support to watch.
Yep.
So that's a key signal. I'm always looking for a signal. That's a key signal. So that's what I would kind of keep an eye on to see. If we do fail and close below this trend line, that would actually be a big time profit taking signal for me if I was holding. Do you want to just give us a real quick update on the depth chart, the GDAX here for the folks?
Yeah, let's just talk about GDAX real quick. Let's just go to Bitcoin. Let's pull up the 6 hour chart. I really like looking at the 6 hour chart on GDAX. It's like the 4 hour, but only with 2 extra hours. So I kind of.
Sorry, that's funny. Go ahead.
Okay, so I did a tweet about this earlier in the day about how super bullish this is, and how the orange line there, which is the EMA 12, has yet to be tested since this super impulse candle we had back a couple days ago on the 12th. And how rare that is, how rare I've seen that in GDAX chart Bitcoin price action history, where after several days, we've even yet to touch the first support of the EMA 12, which signifies how super bullish right now Bitcoin is. It also tells me it is setting up for a big red candle, which would basically touch right at currently 8,000 and change, which is currently your support there on the orange line. So keep an eye on the 6 hour chart here.
Yeah, but hold on though. But like, what orange line? Why? It's just on the screen. If you didn't tell me there's an orange line, I wouldn't know, because the price is like really never interacted with it, except maybe for 4 or 5 days between this, or 2 days, 7th and 8th. Other than that, it hasn't been significant support or resistance. So why are we just assuming it's going to matter at all? I don't understand.
That's a great question, and here's why. It's about standard deviation. So it just pertains to me, to GDAX, to the 6 hour for a few reasons. And you got to factor in not all exchanges are created equal. Price action changes and price points change, and depth charts are not all created equal on exchanges. If it's an exchange where you can leverage and do margin buying, you can have a lot more skewed depth charts than GDAX, which currently does not have margin buying and is mostly just retail, gives you a better sense, I feel, on the true market and true price action. So what I feel about the 6 hour is it's super overbought, and the first point where a support level can be reached on a big retrace would be right now, that orange line, and followed after that by the blue line. Now, it will also find it on the 1 hour, which it also has yet to touch, which is even more impressive because the 1 hour is an easier one to touch because it follows a little closer to the price action. So the fact after, 20 hours, 12, 15 hours there of not touching the orange, how bullish this is, at some point it will touch, and that will be the first thing it will touch. So my point through all this is that Bitcoin clearly remains bullish, but it's so due for a big red candle. It's a healthy move. It will happen. It could be starting right now.
But hold on. So your point is not that it's support or resistance, but that it's a magnet because it's almost like a volume-weighted adjusted price.
That's
right?
a great way to put it. And the magnet will blow through the 1 hour, then the 6 hour becomes your next point there. And I like the daily now too, where you have, and that's going to be your broadest one on the daily, where both EMAs have been separated since early March and are very close now, very close to crossing bullishly. That's a bullish move there.
If it does, I mean, forget about it. But it would be trailing too. But by the time it crosses, it's probably a trailing indicator, and we've already closed above the logarithmic downtrend line. No.
It's definitely a trailing indicator. That's a very astute observation. It could not even cross. They could ricochet off each other if the price action fails. Or if they do cross, it could also be a bull trap, will lure in people for a bigger correction. So it's something to keep an eye on. You're right. It is a trailing indicator, but the closer you get, such as the 6 hour, such as the 1 hour, gives you more of a detailed, shorter term information, and that will be an interesting kind of thing to keep an eye on. The last thing I'll say about the depth chart is it's been quite bullish. I'm seeing orders.
What do you got here?
So let's just zoom all the way out.
Yep.
And the first thing I notice is I'm seeing sell walls popping up at 9,100, which is an area where I'm expecting 10,000, 11,000, 11,500, and 12,000. So what this is telling me is there are people that have gone long, that are holding, and that have already put sell orders in at these specific psychological levels, thank you, higher up, expecting at some point these orders will be filled. So that's a bullish intent I see based on that in the market. If you look at the green, I'm seeing it a lot more focused, a lot more like it's attacking these walls with buying pressure. It's not tremendous, but it's definitely there. It's a nice point. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of those walls that were trying to support it be thinned out, showing there's a slight sentiment change towards bullishness. It's not super bullish, but it's nowhere near as bearish as it had been prior to our candle there. And there's a good amount of support. If you hit the plus sign about 2 or 3 times, you'll see there's a good amount of support right at around 8,000, which will pretty much be our first test to kind of hold. I see a lot of stair stepping between 8,000 and where we are now.
That's good. That's good, right?
A lot of buy orders. There's a lot of buy orders set to gobble up the retrace. And because the wall at 8,000 is so high, I'm seeing people feel that 8,000 is a sturdy barrier, and that any buying between now and 8,000 is to scoop up and sell at a higher price yet to come. So that's bullish.
All right, brother. What about Ethereum? What are you seeing there?
That has been the bearishness from a depth chart standpoint of them all. It still remains so. And I pretty much will translate everything I said about Bitcoin onto Ether on just a slightly smaller scale.
Litecoin.
Litecoin's been the most bullish depth chart, I have to admit. The rate of the sell wall is very small. It's almost the most confusing too, because I'm almost seeing the green as pretty much the same, and then the sell walls as higher, but not like super strong. I'm still seeing weakness like in Litecoin. I can't really describe it, but I'm seeing a little more slight weakness out of the big three.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But thanks for taking us through the depth chart once again. And we are coming to you live today on Sunday, April 15th, 2018. We wanted to give you guys just a little quick update on what the status of the market was. We're just two guys talking crypto, having fun. We're not advisors. Find me on Twitter. I am at Big Cheds. Find him on Twitter. He is at Big Chonis, Chonis. He also doesn't say depth chart. He says death chart. That's his thing. And please check out the Complete Beginner's Guide to Cryptocurrency Trading at chedstrading.blogspot.com. It's free. I did it for you guys. And lots of cool articles too if you just want to kill some time and get better at trading. So, what do you say, Monis? Want to have some party words for our friends?
Yeah, Cheds. I appreciate you having me tonight. We're gonna keep an eye on the week's events, and I expect some volatility this week, which will present some potential great trading opportunities. Nothing's definitive yet. We're in a very bullish move here. I think 8,400 to 8,700 is definitely a possibility in the next, let's say, 24 hours before we begin to correct. But things do tend to turn on a dime. For some reason, 7 a.m. on the East Coast of the United States seems to be a moment where a lot of buying starts to happen. So kind of keep an eye on that. And we'll just see how it goes. I believe this week will be very volatile with some interesting price action, and just play safe, play smart. And this is a marathon. It's a long way to go. Bitcoin is a living, breathing organism, and this will take time to play out. And I just love talking about it.
Yeah, you do.
Every day I learn more, and I'm better at, I feel, analyzing because of the charts I read and the interesting things I read about. So every day you can become a better, smarter trader. I look forward to talking to you soon.
I love it. Let's leave it on that note, guys. Stay hungry, work hard, and play it safe, guys. And take care. Peace out.